Hello everyone at Our Ladies. Luke Temple here. I hope you're having lots of fun doing the masterclass. Now, I've been sent lots of your questions. I have them here on my laptop, and so I'm going to answer them for you now. And the first question is, if you didn't like reading or writing when you were a child, what made you become an author? So that's a really good question to start with, because as you'll have found out in the masterclasses, when I was your age, I did not enjoy reading and writing. I found reading a huge challenge. I just found all the words on the page really scary. And with writing, I always had loads of ideas, even when I was your age, loads of ideas in my head. I would write those ideas down, but then I'd read what I'd written, and I just thought it was rubbish. It was nothing like the amazing ideas that are in my head. And so my big challenge with writing has always been stopping myself from thinking that what I'm writing is rubbish, and instead persevering to make my writing better and better and better until it is like the amazing ideas that are in my head. I found that a challenge when I was your age. I still find it a challenge today, because my brain still tells me that what I'm writing is rubbish. So my challenge is stopping myself from thinking that what I'm writing is rubbish. And the thing that helps me with that is all those ideas in my head. That's what inspires me to keep facing that challenge, because I get loads of ideas all the time, and that makes me want to face that challenge of writing. Okay, next question. What is your favourite book and why? Oh, so my favourite book, well, when I was your age, I genuinely did not have a favourite book because I hardly read any books. Now, my favourite book is probably a book called The Book Thief. And The Book Thief by Markus Zusak. It's a book which I read and I was amazed at how well it was written, and it really inspired me to change the way I wrote. And so that's why I love that book. Okay, what is your favourite author? So who's my favourite author? Well, my favourite author is probably Philip Pullman, because Philip Pullman is the author that eventually got me into reading books. It took me until I was about 16 years old to properly give reading a go. I was bored one summer. I started reading this book. I found it so interesting that I wanted to keep reading those words. I wanted to turn the page to find out what would happen next. And that was the first time that had happened to me. And it was a book by Philip Pullman. Okay. Is there a book that you hate is the next question. Ooh, good question. I don't think I've ever been asked that question before. Is there a book that I hate? No, I don't think there is a book that I hate. There are certainly books that I don't enjoy and I don't get on with, but I don't think I would ever hate any books, because just because I don't like them or I don't get on with them, it doesn't mean they're really bad books. It just means they're not for me. And so no, I don't think I'd ever hate any book. Okay. How do you get your ideas is the next question. Oh, well, like I said earlier, I get loads of ideas. They're always popping into my head. The thing about those ideas, though, is I don't really know where they come from. They always just pop into my head. As soon as they pop into my head, they kind of explode like fireworks. As soon as one idea's exploded, another idea explodes, another idea, another idea, another idea, and my head gets really full. So it's all those ideas that inspire me, but I don't really know where they come from. One idea I do remember where it came from, though, was my first idea for Mutating Mansion, which is the book that Key Stage 2 have been doing their masterclass on. Now, my first idea for that came from a nightmare that I had. And it was a nightmare about me being chased around a theatre by a load of creepy masked figures, which are just like the masked figure that you see on the front cover of the book. That was my first idea for Mutating Mansion. It came from a nightmare that I had. So most of the time, I don't know where my ideas come from. Sometimes they come from things like nightmares or dreams or things like that. Okay, next question. How long does it take you to write a book? So, Key Stage 2, you're doing the masterclass on Mutating Mansion. Key Stage 1, you're doing the masterclass on The Blubber Monster. Now, those two books took me different times to write. Mutating Mansion took me 2 months to write. The Blubber Monster is quite a short book compared to Mutating Mansion. It's a bit shorter, but that one took me a whole year to write. Even though it's shorter, it took me a whole year to write. So my books take me lots of different times to write. And it doesn't mean that I'm writing all of that time. So when I was spending a year writing The Blubber Monster, it didn't mean I was just sitting there for a year writing like that, because that would be a bit boring if I was doing that for a whole year. A lot of that time, I'm not actually doing the writing bit at all. A lot of that time, I'm just letting my head think of all those ideas. And a lot of the time as well, I spend visiting schools. So in normal times when there's not a pandemic, I spend a lot of my year coming into schools and working with lovely children like you and your horrible teachers. I don't think they're horrible, they're lovely really. But yes, that's what I spend a lot of my time doing. So I'm not writing for a whole year. A lot of the time I'm doing lots of other things as well. Okay, how do you go about writing a book? So writing a book, well, the first thing is thinking of all those ideas, and my mind goes slightly crazy thinking of all those ideas. Then I write those ideas down. I read those ideas. I think they're rubbish. Of course I do, because my brain always tells me that. Then what I do is I try to connect all those ideas together to fit together and make a story. And then I read that story and I think it's rubbish. I want to give up, but I don't give up. What I do is I take that story and I make it better, because all authors write more than one version of a story. No author has ever just written one version of a story and that's it, it's done. All authors write lots of different versions of a story to make it better and better and better. And so after I've written that first version, that's what I do. I edit it to make it better and better and better and better until it becomes something that I think is perfect. It's the best story I can write, and that's when it's ready to become a book. So that's how I go about writing a book. Okay. What is your most effective literacy technique? Ooh, that's a good question. What's my favourite literacy technique? Well, quite a few of my books have quite scary things in them. So Mutating Mansion has some quite scary things in them. And I think my favourite literary technique is using tension and using creative writing to create tension. So Key Stage 2 in your masterclass, you're going to learn lots of techniques about how you can create dramatic and tense scenes, things like short sentences and alliteration and showing, not telling emotions and things like that. And I like using all of those different things to create tension in my books. That's what I like doing. Okay. What's your favourite story from the ones that you've written? Ooh, my favourite story. Well, I do love Mutating Mansion and I do love The Blubber Monster. But actually, I think my favourite book might be one of the ones that I'm writing right now, because I'm writing a couple of books at the moment. One is for Key Stage 2 and it's a book of short stories called Zombie Cows from Outer Space. And the other book I'm writing is a book called The Pooh Monster, and The Pooh Monster is for Key Stage 1. I think one of those books might be my favourite that I've written because I'm having a lot of fun writing them. So, thank you very much for your questions. They were great fun to answer. Hopefully one day in the future I'll be able to come and visit you at Our Ladies in person. But until then, I'll say goodbye.